And we're live. Hello, everyone watching or listening. Welcome to SEO News Weekly. SEO News. This is for week 11. So last week we've gathered all the news and we'll go through them. I'm Frederick Rost. I work at Precis, and so does Linus, who's my steady co host. And yeah, let's just jump right into it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the first one here is, well, we have to say it, core March update. Google is updating its core algorithm. Um, I think an interesting. Well, there's really not a lot of data on like winners, losers, but it started on March 13th and should take about 2 weeks to roll out. We can see some volatility during this period, but also after. So again, just watch your Google Search Console accounts and see what's going on, and don't do a site migration right now. I guess.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. I see we have one coming up, but it's not. It shouldn't be a big deal. Um, and I wanted to discuss something quickly on this one. It's the sentiment on Google, on Twitter right now is that people like, yeah, we don't. It used to be a big deal, core updates, and now they're not. People were like,
Yep.
oh, this might actually get my site up, but this might not. And people are a little bit, who cares? Google, you suck. That's kind of the sentiment I felt from like the top level SEOs that I respect. So another thing to note is this: Google says this should touch any piece of content, so all results, and they want to promote good quality content. So let's see if that's true. Let's see if that's true. We've had a few issues with some clients where we were updating content. We objectively thinks it's better, and that didn't help. So maybe this will clear things up. We'll see. We'll keep you posted in the next
I
videos.
think also something like that I've thought about when it comes to this as well. Like
Sorry, I can't record
if
videos yet, but I'm still
if
learning.
if if I if after a core update something happens, like for me something drastic happens, then it's always negative. Like
Hmm.
otherwise, I feel like we've become so good at doing what Google wants. So it's not necessarily that something changes. So like with this as well, like it's not a negative update. Rather, it's like a positive one made to like help good content rank better. And I feel like we do a lot of this already, and it gets uh, like picked up quite well.
Fair point. Fair point. Yeah, and I will say, I for my own personal website, in the update that came in summer, my website it just went boop, it doubled in traffic. So Google loved it, and then that kind of stayed steady, and then after December it kind of slowed down. So
Mm.
maybe it'll get up again, or maybe it'll go down. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But I like to kind of look at it, and it's purely informational content
Yep.
with reviews. So Google had some tough times with reviews recently. But yeah, we'll keep you updated. Here's a really cool webinar. Hopefully, we'll see. But it's a build brand authority through website optimizations and SEO. And I think this ties well into AI and a lot of this digital PR and how you can get in the training data is pretty much good digital PR. So again, just if people are interested, that's a webinar hosted by Lumar. And then there's a reminder here, for a good one, I think. Check your robots.txt to see if you're blocking any important AI crawlers. And maybe not stop there. If you have any CDNs, um, any CDNs for your content, your website, make sure they are not blocking them too. They're usually, their main focus is probably Google, and they usually, if you have a good CDN or a host or anything, they should know this. Any firewall protection, IP protection as well. Like maybe just reach out. Hey, let's make sure we're not blocking these top 5, 6 AI crawlers, agents. You can see them on their platforms. OpenAI has a doc on bots, so that's always a good idea, honestly, to reach out to them because we're getting a lot more AI referrals coming in. Traffic is increasing. So, good reminder. Maybe I should post this every month for a few months as well. This one is really interesting. Somebody shared this. So again, we had there's one client, an anonymous, of course, that we were posting human written, obviously and objectively better content, and some of it was ranking better. So we optimized current URLs. Some of them ranked worse. So we had a really hard time figuring out what happened here. And somebody shared this LinkedIn post about having date modified and date published, and having both is confusing. The case study, as seen here, is that Google takes the published date and not the date modified. So having both is actually bad, and you should just have publish date. Is what, but why have both then? In sitemaps, it's considered we have it. So I'm like, what's going on here? But very interesting. Have a look at it, and of course test beforehand you do anything site wide on bigger sites. But an interesting point here. Then this one is also interesting. I know you probably like this. You're a lot into the e-commerce sector there. So a few case studies on price titles in the SERPs. Did you go through some of these? Because it's a collection of different cases from Search Pilot. They do a lot of these mini cases that should be taken with a grain of salt, but still. What do you think happens with traffic or CTR when you put a price in the title?
I think it depends, which they highlight as well in the case studies. It's very much case to case basis, and depending on what the price you have, then the strategy is different. But I think it becomes quite clear, since it varies a lot, that prices, like, probably becoming more and more and more a very stable ranking factor, and something you should have in mind, and probably something we should look at as SEOers as well.
Mhm.
Like, if a specific category is performing terribly for a specific client, and you have lots of products, you have all the content, you have everything optimized as well as it could be, but maybe the product assortment is priced 5 or 10% worse than what your competitors have, then this probably is why. And it just becomes that black and white. It's just guesswork from my side. But looking at how it's like a direct ranking factor for free listings, this should also probably be a direct ranking factor in the usual SERP or organic
Yeah.
search as well.
So what we're for anyone to really get, you can differentiate Google Shopping and then Google's normal SERPs, the blue links, as we used to call them almost. Yeah, different ranking factors. I think price again we know it has an influence on. We actually did a little test ourselves as well for this, but also
Yeah.
people agree. So price has an influence on that ranking in Google Shopping. But here and this was really blue links test, and the interesting part is it might. Yeah, so this was just on CTR, and the CTR was worse. And I actually understand that, right? You're looking at, especially if your competitors have no price, suddenly you throw a price already up there, and if people don't like it, they won't click. Compared to maybe not knowing the price, clicking, and then finding out we don't like the price. So the question really is, the CTR went down, but if they didn't check on revenue or conversions or transactions, which I think is maybe we're just limited. Now we're just getting the people who will actually pay that price. And another one is, if everyone has a price, is your price the best? So all these factors play in, which is why I wouldn't just go ahead and not remove all CTRs right away. It depends on are you competitive? But I think it's an interesting point you brought up, that, hey, if this category performs poorly, or this product, but we would want it, can we push the price down? And by getting more sales, is that worth it, right? I'd rather sell 100 things at a lower price than one thing at, it depends. There's a calculation here somewhere. So worth bringing up with your clients, worth thinking about if you have e-commerce. Should be maybe have some sort of standard algorithm and do some tests. Great. This one, oh dear, AI mode. It's the it's the big new thing, new shiny thing from Google. So there was a SGE, and then it became AI overviews as a product. Now we have AI mode, Google. And people, of course, I think I know the big SEOs in Twitter are talking about it. They're testing it. It's a Search Labs experiment, so you have to be signed in, pro user. I think they're sharing all those insights about it, because I think what clients are doing is, oh, will this affect us, right? And here's some first insights from, who was it, Aleda. So this top notch. Not going to go through everything here, but there's one thing that I like, is that AI mode doesn't seem to, according to her, pose additional threats to organic traffic. It primarily appears when AIOs are already active, and it's more of a leading conversation, and actually direct links and answers could benefit websites. So again, I think my take on these, and it's kind of like with AI overviews, is that Google wants to guide people to a purchase, and so we can control less of that funnel. Usually we could with informational content and then further down the road. But it seems like Google might be taking that away from us, and the final click is then a purchase. But how do we link that together? Is the strategy of having that content still worthy if we can get the final product mentioned? There's a bunch of questions coming up here, so don't freak out about AI mode. I think it's the natural next step. Google is really scared of all these other AI products coming out. So, do you have any thoughts on AI mode?
Not yet, I'd say. I still think it's very early days, and I'm not sure if you brought this up last week, but something I thought was very interesting is that they immediately or that they show how it's using search in itself to find something. I think it's something we'll probably dive more into, but optimizing for AI mode will probably be just like optimizing for SEO, but just at a grander scale. That's
Yeah,
very
that's
interesting.
don't stop doing SEO because you think AI engines will be completely different. Good SEO will help you get it featured in not only Google's products but also general AI crawlers. So yeah, it's actually just becoming a little bit more complicated, honestly, and it's still very informational, and it still costs 10 times as much electricity and maybe even more resources to do these types of things. So Google will have to narrow down when it does it, honestly. Um, And I don't know if people would actually want to pay to use search engines to get good search engines. I don't think so. So you cannot just throw resources and like expensive things at it. At one point, you have to justify that cost. But yeah, we'll keep you updated with AI mode and everything else coming out. Continue doing good SEO, you'll be fine. Next up here is a Google CTR Q4 study, and I haven't seen the other ones for this year, and there's a lot of these types of studies. Again, have a look at it. But the interesting parts that I noted here is AI overviews may be reducing organic clicks, informational queries. That's definitely for sure. We're still in Europe. A lot of our clients are in Europe, so Google's just started testing that. We saw that last week. So we haven't really seen a huge effect, like direct effect on that. I mean, we don't have. I don't have any clients operating too much in the US. And let's see here. The interesting one as well is longer queries on desktop saw a CTR drop, but shorter one-word queries on mobile saw a CTR boost, plus two PPs, so percent points. So interesting. And I think that's just maybe that's just AI overviews. Like they usually tend to rank on long tail information queries. So but yeah, interesting things. If you've seen some drops, and it's nice to justify that this might be a reason. It's not if it's nice to know it's an industry trend and not because you've done something wrong. So, great. Next up here is a small little thing here. I put minor news, but yeah, some people share these kind of smaller things. AI chatbots send 96% less traffic to publishers' websites than traditional search engines. I saw an article as well. I haven't included it here, but it also says AI engines have a citation issue. Somebody actually did a really thorough test. I might post in the next one. There's a lot already here, but basically, there's a white paper and a test on like actually trying to find citations like, hey, who wrote this, and it couldn't figure it out. So there is some RAG issues here, which I think Google might be better at because it's got a nice index of that. But yeah, they looked at metrics for 160 publishers. Toolbit found that AI bots scraped those sites an average of 2 million times in Q4. Each page was scraped around 7 times on average. So things are being scraped, and they're actually getting. It's not like the training data is like so fixed anymore, right? So we need to make sure we can actually. That's why the checking robots.txt, checking your protection, making sure that you can get scraped. Another one here is the popularity of AI models for different tasks. Just want to be very clear. That doesn't mean they're the best ones. It just means the popularity, right? We have text generation, image generation, video, and yeah, just have a look at that. It's interesting as well, but maybe not. That doesn't mean it's the best one for the job. And then we have Open AI operators now available for pro users in EU. And operators are basically, I think, the next step in these kind of AI tools, which is it can perform tasks in your browser. And that is almost, I mean, now you're making, people have been able to do this before, but it was complicated to set up. I think this is a bit dangerous because now how much of the internet is actually bots? Is the
A lot of
question.
it.
Yeah, a lot, right? I think it was 50%. Somebody said once. Can't remember where, but the whole question here is it's now easy for people to set up tasks like posting a tweet or, maybe things like that. And I feel like that can be a bit. Yeah, it's going to be misused as well, obviously, but could be easy. I haven't tested it for workflows. I don't see how I could yet. So I'll have a look into see how we can use it for SEO. Also, OpenAI O1 and O3 Mini now offers Python-powered data analysis in ChatGPT. So I've tested this. I think remember the O4 version had some of this too, but sometimes you give it like a bunch of data copy pasted, and it just starts running a Python. You can see it live, a Python script. It reads it, gives you the output. So yeah, worth checking out as well. I know Gemini does this, but you can actually upload a file to it. Somebody shared today with us as well. And we are definitely looking into how we can communicate with our data using AI. That's something we're doing at Precis SEO for the entire organization. So we'll keep you posted on the tools and yeah, interesting stuff. But I also fear it might not be good at it. But now we can run at least a regression analysis in Python. That's what it is, right? We're not guessing anymore. And then a really cool article here on data and how to use data analytics for link building. Again, I think what's happening here is they always introduce this with domain rating and links and why they matter, and then some good tips. So I thought it was a pretty good article. And again, I think we do a lot of that when we engage with clients who want link building. The first step is usually let's look at competitors. Let's look at your backlinks and mentions. Let's look at competitors. And then, of course, realizing how brand mentions are actually still or more valuable than ever now because LLM seems to favor that. But yeah, just a really good article if you're getting started. And then this is a small take. I think we should debate this a little bit. Interesting take here on LLM optimizations and how it's literally only SEO. I think his vision was a bit narrow because there's a few extra things to consider if you want to be ahead of the game in terms of AI. So but it is 90% SEO. Are we, what do you think? Because I disagree that it's only SEO, but we're getting close.
I think the guy who wrote this is misnoming SEO. I mean, it's optimization, and the optimization that you do for search engines has, a near 100% overlap for LLMs. So in that point, yes, LLM O or AEO is SEO, but it isn't because SEO is for search engines and LLMs are not search engines, and like that's bottom line. So I think it's just like a definition thing here, where
Yeah.
I agree with its sentiment, like because I really think our work will not change that much. We'll just have to take up an additional few parameters into account and go a bit further back with some points that usually were handled differently within our optimization timeline. But I still feel like the bottom line is it all aligns still very well.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the big challenge for us is the measurement and how we will change from we will have to do a lot more testing because even the people who created these LLMs and all the generative parts of it, especially, they don't really know what a ranking factor is. Like if your client gets mentioned a lot in ChatGPT, even if you got the people who made this LLM and trained it, they could probably point to a few things, but it's a black box what's going on inside. That's what's interesting is this neural net part that generates the transformation part is a black box for most people. So you could point to some things. I think if you're a lot in the training data, it makes sense. If you're not in the training data, done. But once you start tweaking it a little bit, who knows? So we will have to run a lot of tests and it'll be different models and they keep coming out with different models and we don't know how to measure correctly. What is your ranking? Is it even a ranking? List the top 10 in order of best. It's such a, it's going to be a lot of testing, a lot of reporting, and we are figuring that out, of course. But yeah, I do like that. It means there's new things going on. It's not just old school SEO anymore. Here's a great guide on voice search optimization. Remember that when that actually was a thing, when people like voice search is the future and we should be doing this, and then it kind of died when AI became a hit. Um, but I actually use it a lot. I actually use voice search a lot, and right now I'm using a bit of Gemini on my phone, and it will point to links. But as we just talked about now, it's 96% less citations than like other search engines like Google. So I'm not getting a lot of like I'm getting a lot of answers, but I'm not getting the click through. I don't never click further, but I have used voice search a lot, and I think yeah, it's an interesting guide. Have a read. Not a priority, but yeah, I did put it in minor news. Um, very short version here. Great study on sources in AI engines. It just says domain rank matters, digital PR matters. Right, that's my conclusion for this article. Have a read, of course, figure out why. The reason I put this as must read is because we are offering digital PR as a service. We help clients get into the space, we give them the right data, we train them. But it's interesting how it has always been important, but even more now with AI engines. And the more I can confirm this, the better, right? The stronger this idea becomes. We have to remember we have to sell our services, right? And we need to prove why it matters for things. So, yeah, great article. Oh, yeah, this one. Is meta descriptions a waste of time? It seems so, at least for pure Google rankings. So, just for clarification, this LinkedIn post, somebody did some tests. I know Search Pilot was involved in some of them. Essentially, um, writing, you can either write meta descriptions manually, you can do it at scale with AI and some inputs, or you could just remove them all. And somebody seems to have done some tests and figure out that even removing them didn't change any CTR, clicks, or rankings in the blue link SERPs in Google, right? Good. What did he forget to think about? This sir here on LinkedIn. I won't name.
He forgot about and as I guess we spoke about before, that like organic performance, it's not just blue link clicks. It's in the price studies that we went over before, it forgot about how does this affect revenue. And in this case, I think they forgot, or maybe they tested it for not an e-commerce client, whereas for Google Shopping and free listings, I think it was the top 5 ranking factor was meta descriptions. And there suddenly we have, because I thought that was super interesting when that came out, that actually meta descriptions have become a ranking factor for something.
Yep.
And that's clearly something that's been forgotten here. And I mean, it's hard to say the uplift here and what they, like if they removed all the meta descriptions, how would that have affected their free listings?
Yeah, 100%. So again, everything we see, we should take with a grain of salt, especially when they're this focused, as we talked about with Search Pilot and the prices. And have a grain of salt. Think of everything. And I think that's why it's good to have an SEO consultant with experience and an agency, because we actually see the big picture a lot. And I think a lot of people who get into SEO in the beginning, they're just like hyper focused, and that's the danger. I hate the word holistic, but it's truly is holistic SEO in too many ways now. Yeah, and I did show to people here in the video. Yeah, so there's a link here. I'll also put in the description to the ranking factor for free listings. Another little, maybe we can discuss this. My theory is also, if I'm an AI, if I have OpenAI and we crawl and scrape the web, we don't render content yet, it seems. I need to find out information about different URLs and web pages, and I've got a title, I've got a meta description. I would probably fetch both, and a lot of times in the meta description, let's say I'm answering a question, and my title is just, how should I create a marketing plan? And then in the meta description, I can add a bit more nuance to that question, right? And I would definitely be using that and connect those dots, like from an embedding point of view when actually answering that. I would use that in my database to kind of help my model understand what's going on with that page. So if you just remove it, yeah, I can see why Google rewrites them and maybe does a pretty good job now. But what about the other engines? They don't. Now you've removed an important data point with nuances. So should we just, yeah, let's just scrap this post. So it seems not to be a waste of time, actually. So boom, we solved that problem. Maybe I should post a little comment. And then this one is great as well here. Google requires us to specify which country return policies apply to in markup. So for Merchant Center or in your structured data. And we've discussed that having like there's a what is the importance in terms of like getting those shopping placements, free listings. There is a pyramid structure in terms of hierarchy. Um, Merchant Center data feeds. We've got structured data. We've got all these things, and I think it's good to work on all of them. That's what it seems to be the best way if you really want to, outperform. But now we have another thing that we need to apply here. So just a really important information. Do you have any notes to this?
Not really. I just think it's very interesting, and also, like, I think it highlights the like an assault is a weird word, but they like really pushed on through with a lot of free listings, like additions the last 6 months to a year. I think that's like super important just to bring with as well. Like, I think Google sees the future in having that vertical on their website being built out, and therefore we should really pay close attention to this.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you. I mean, I'm almost certain I know why Google is promoting free listings and getting all these things up. If you actually give us free listings, what SEOs will do is we will start implementing all these tags. We'll give it better data, and once we do that, Google can then become a better shopping environment. So they're enticing us. They're saying, hey, you can get free listings if you do this, and it helps us build a better e-commerce shopping experience in Google. So thank you. But we see why we're not that, but it's great, and I think we should definitely be on top of this for e-commerce. We are on top of this for e-commerce clients, but anyone else who is not working at Proceeds listening to this, all these updates on the policies, and it's a small little line in their documentation, and people are sharing this. Thank you, Search Engine Journal, because I don't look. I just follow along. But yeah, that was that was the news. Thank you for listening or watching. I will put all of these links and descriptions of each in the description, both on Spotify and in YouTube. Thank you for joining, Linus. This was a lot of great news, and I will see you all next week.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.